All right. Well, Brian, before we move on to talk about the television offerings from the various companies, there was something that it didn't make television. Apparently got edited out before the broadcast, but that some people got in a turmoil over with Ric Flair. And this one, I think, are people just looking for reasons to get pissed off these days? Because apparently Flair said on a promo for one of the B shows, Rampage or whatever, he's hyping Sting's retirement tour. He's going to be with his old friend and opponent for the last 3 months as he winds his career down, and he's hyping a thing up, and he's being Ric Flair. And he says what he used to say in the 80s, I'm inviting all the women down between the ages of 18 and 28, no husbands, no boyfriends, to the Marriott or to wherever this is going to take place, whatever, like he used to do in Philadelphia. And they came. And most of them didn't bring their husbands and boyfriends. But in this case, people, oh God, their heads caught on fire. Besides the fact that he's standing there 75 years old, and as far as we know, still married to Wendy, I guess, or involved with Wendy.
I thought you were going to say still married to Fantasy World. No,
I quit. And there's Sting, who, as we all know, is a Christian. If you go to see the Monkees, don't you want to see him play Last Train to Clarksville? He's Ric Flair being Ric Flair. There may be a negative connotation to it because of his age and the revelations that have come out at various points about him flinging his tallywhacker around. But goddamn, it's a fucking line and a fucking promo that he's being Nature Boy Ric Flair from the 80s. He didn't curse. It shouldn't be edited off television. There was nothing obscene or profane. No one's feelings or sensibilities should have been hurt, except if they thought it was in bad taste. And if you're watching AEW, then I don't know what your fucking barometer for bad taste is to begin with.
I think to the fans who are complaining about this, it's about who did it. Despite the fact this is a Ric Flair thing from years gone by, if a heel MJF or a Christian did this, I don't think you hear the outcry. But it's Ric Flair.
Christian's talking about fucking all the widows.
Yeah, but Ric Flair was on Dark Side with a story about him and that flight attendant. And a lot of AEW fans don't even want him there because of that. So to that fan base, as soon as Ric Flair, like you said, acts like Ric Flair on TV, they're going to be up in arms because they want to demure Ric Flair.
Well, what's he supposed to do? Come out and read poetry and Shakespeare? He's got to be, Tony's paying him to be Ric Flair.
And by the way, like you said, he's 75. It's ridiculous, too. You know, Uncle Milky can come out and drop his pants when he's 75 years old. It's an old man.
But here's the thing. It's because that, how many times have we seen, you know, how old is fucking Rod Stewart? But if he does a concert, he still asks if you think he's sexy. Because that's part of the fucking deal, right? He's not literally, if he was being true to life and shooting, as the kids say, he just said, hey, all the women from ages 18 to 28, no husbands, no boyfriends, but just bring pacemakers and oxygen tanks. But that wouldn't be fucking...
And he's next to Sting. I mean, that's the other thing. It's the exact opposite.
65 and Christian, right? So it's not like you should take this literally. And if Sting was accused of waking the neighbors up by howling at night, then should he still be allowed to go, whoa? But anyway,
I think that's the thing. If Jeff Hardy was involved in an angle on AEW TV where, and WWE did this before the last arrest when he was still there, but something where he was drunk driving or there was some kind of car accident, they alluded to things. People now would lose their mind about that.
Yeah, they did that in the WWF, didn't they?
They did that in WWE, I think on a SmackDown. But things like, you know, the MJF Juice Robinson thing that got everyone, including me, up in arms. It's timing, it's who's doing it, it's when it's being done, it's what the purpose behind it is. With Ric Flair, it's simply about there's an element of the fans who don't want him there. And if he acts like classic Ric Flair, they're going to have a problem with it like they never would have before, or like they wouldn't for any other wrestler. And it's because there are these stories out there. And like I said, they didn't want him there to begin with.
So they're doing a reverse Buckaroo's elite job on Punk. The fans now are taking up for, well, we're going to run off the wrestlers we don't like instead of the EVPs since they've gone home to sulk.
Well, Ric Flair issued a tweet, and I say issued a tweet because I don't think he actually does any tweeting for himself. From what I understand, he has it was Wendy, and then when him and Wendy were on the outs, Wendy shut him out of the account, I heard. And he couldn't get back in there, but there was another person who was doing the tweet. So when anyone sees...
Why are they all capitalized?
Well, I think that's the way Flair wants it, but I don't think Flair is actually sitting there and tweeting any of this stuff out. He's dictating it, I believe, but here it is.
Don't say dictate.
5:43 p.m., November 30th, 2023, at Ric Flair, NATR boy. I am so tired of hearing all this negativity. I don't need the work, and I don't need the money. Can't I simply enjoy being by my dear friend Sting's side for the next few months without so much hatred? I know I'm old, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy life. I have earned the right to do whatever I want, and I'm exactly where I want to be. I appreciate everything, Tony Khan, but I'm more than willing to walk away if I am embarrassing you and your company. All I can say is, I'm sorry. So this tweet went out before the episode aired, but after it had already taken place. We don't know what was said, if anything, backstage. But here's Ric Flair doing what all modern wrestlers seem to do, issuing a public statement about something that probably should have been handled privately.
Well, and at the same time, he's being a little dramatic. Be honest, if he ought to say, "I'm the nature boy. I live with it, whatever the fuck." But he's being the nice nature boy there. But by God, it's not like he was obscene, threatened to commit a crime, or encouraged, baby fucking threatening in a crib like we've seen on this program. He's doing 80s promo lines. And I don't know what anybody would expect Ric Flair to fucking do, but be Ric Flair.
If none of the stories were out there, if Dark Side hadn't aired, and people ignored everything else, because Dark Side is really what triggered everyone diving into this stuff, he could have said the exact same thing. There would have been no reaction.
Nobody would give a shit.
That's right.
And I think at this point, everybody should have other things to worry about with their fucking time. Such as getting AEW out of the toilet.
Well, this certainly
possibly that might work.
Yeah, this certainly doesn't do anything to help it. It's just more AEW drama. Now, Ric Flair's in the middle of the AEW drama. Anyone who gets there gets sucked into the vortex of the drama. It's amazing. Everyone, right? Everyone gets sucked into it. Or they'll say, no, everything's great here. And then, months later, it comes out, I am frustrated that I can't get anything done. Well, you were pretending a few months ago like everything was great.
When you have that level of force behind the suckage, you tend to get sucked into it.